everybody. Today we're going to talk about the gear that we have to live here in this cold climate in Maine. We have a friend named Ray, and Tim will tell you what he told us a long time ago.
When we lived in Idaho, we had a neighbor by the name of Ray, and we lived in southern Idaho, so the weather wasn't that bad in the wintertime. And Ray had moved there from North Dakota. And Ray was telling me one day, he said, I didn't realize before I sold it and moved to Idaho what all I needed to survive the winters in North Dakota. And he had scaled down a lot. So we've had people ask us, how do you stay warm in a climate that can get as low as 30 below zero? So today we thought we'd go through a little bit of the equipment that we have, the clothing that we have. We're not sponsored by anybody. We don't get any kickbacks, but we can't go without mentioning certain brands. So it's just, it's not for everybody. We're not advocating that you buy a certain brand. We're just saying this is what we have and it works for us. Let me tell you that clothing in itself has no properties to warm you. Clothing merely retains your body heat, and the better the ability for the clothing to maintain your body heat, the warmer you are. For example, down feel is a very proficient insulator. It keeps you really warm as long as the down has its loft. Once a down-feel jacket or pants get wet and they lose their loft, you're just as well off with a newspaper trying to keep warm. So keep that in mind. If you're ever out in a rainy, snowy climate, make sure that the down-feel jacket you have is waterproof, water resistant, or you have a shell garment. And so to start off, when it's cool, and I'm talking about 35, 40 degrees, and we're outside, we wear just a thin, almost silk-like type of undergarment. These are my long underwear. As it gets a little cooler, we go to the heavier style, and we're talking about temperatures in the 20s and teens. Once it gets to 10 or below and below zero, we pull out the heavy stuff, and this is what we use. Each one of us has a set of this, so we're only going to show you one set. This is an Under Armour insulated undershirt. If you look, it has this design that's supposed to help maintain warmth. They're really good as just a single layer, or they're also good under a flannel shirt or a sweater. We always wear wool socks. These are made in Vermont by a company called Darn Tough. These are the boot socks, and they're the little heavier. If it's below zero, we wear 2 pairs of the wool socks. Wool has excellent insulating properties. It also wicks moisture away from your skin and transfers it outwards, so it will keep you drier than just a cotton sock. Also, the great thing about wool is wool will keep you warm whether it gets wet or not. It has almost the same insulating properties when it's wet as it does when it's dry, and that's why wool is so sought after in colder climates.
Okay, so my favorite thing that we got this year are bibberalls. And I didn't know the difference between overalls, coveralls, and bibberalls. So bibberalls have the straps and a zipper in the front, and that makes it easier to get on and off. You don't have to readjust these straps. You just unzip it and slip it off. but I am in love with this thing. It has pockets everywhere. It is super warm, keeps your core body warm, and it's fabulous. Just the best purchase ever so far for me. If you watched our last video or two, I was wearing this outside in the snow and I was toasty warm.
These are made by Carhartt and they're insulated very heavily. Carhartt has a designation as to their wear 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is normal everyday wear, 2 is a little cooler, 3 is colder, and 4 is extreme Arctic wear. These are rated 4. When we put those on, it would be miserable outside without them.
So I also have some coats that I'll show, and then Tim can show his coats. I've got this one. This is Eddie Bauer. I don't know that it matters, the brand, but it is wonderful. It's kind of puffy, like those puffy coats.
It's downfield too,
It's
isn't it?
downfield, yeah, and I forget the rating that it goes to, but it's a really warm coat. It goes past or to your knees, which is really nice. What we noticed is we would wear coats and socks and boots and everything, but our thighs would be freezing. So this fixes that because it goes way down. And both of my coats that I wear have this fur lining on the hood, and I always thought that was just for fancy. I didn't realize it had a purpose until last year. So last year we were walking up and down the road just for exercise in the winter, and the snow was coming and with a little bit of sleet. And what I found is that the fur catches the snow and the sleet. It keeps it from getting in your face. And so what an awesome thing. It's not just to be fancy. It actually has a purpose. So that is great. Let's see. I got one more coat. We have our entire closet in here. This is another coat I have. It's not as warm as the Eddie Bauer, but it's very heavy, very insulated. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Meanwhile, I'll show you, I have a necessity up here is a hoodie sweatshirt. This one is water resistant. It's a little heavier than the normal that you would buy. This one is made by Carhartt and it fits really well. It has pockets in the front, and if I'm just outside and it's windy or cold, this is a good jacket, a good sweater to wear. If it's a little colder, I usually put a vest on. I usually put a vest on over top of it. Most of the time, I'll just wear this vest, and I even wear this one indoors. This one is a Filson wool vest. I've had it for 30 years, and unfortunately, it doesn't close like it did 30 years ago, but it still keeps me warm, and I wear it quite often in the wintertime. When I go outside, this is a little heavier. This is a Carhartt. It's a little heavier, and it's kind of like a work vest, and I may wear it over the sweatshirt. I may wear it over just a flannel shirt or whatever, but it really does the job of keeping us warm. I also have a Sherpa fleece jacket. This one has plenty of pockets.
Oh, that's Filson also.
It is. It's got reinforced elbows. This is a great jacket even if the weather's nasty and wet. However, it has absolutely no wind stopping ability. So if you put it on and go out and the wind's blowing, you feel every bit of it. But if the wind's not blowing, or if you have a wind shell underneath, then this works really, really well. This reminds me of a fireman's coat because it's made out of cotton duck, which is water resistant. This one is insulated. It's got loads of pockets on it. It fits really well, and it's a warm jacket. It even has the wool knit wristers here so that the wind doesn't blow up the jacket sleeves. It does really well. Hadn't had it that
heavy.
long. Yeah, it's heavy.
And it goes past the hips, so it's a little bit of a longer style, which what we noticed is when you bend over and you're working outside, the wind will sneak up the back of your jacket. So that eliminates that.
And finally, this is my down jacket that I have. It's 850 fill, and that's the quantity per square inch of fill in the
It's real
the
puffy.
material. It's real puffy. It's very, very lightweight. And I can tell you, I sat in a tree stand deer hunting, and it was 12 degrees, and I had on the insulated t-shirt and a flannel shirt and this, and I was warm. I did not shiver at all. And when you're hunting and you're still in a tree stand, that makes a big difference. What normally might keep you warm with moderate activity is not going to keep you warm if you're in a tree stand trying not to move and not to be detected. So that's a whole different ball game there. And of course we have
Headgear.
headgear. Now, if you're from up north and in Canada, you call this a toque. In the south where we're originally from, this is a toboggan. If you were from up north in Canada and you went to a store, a hardware store, and you said, "Where are your toboggans?" they would take you to these. Up north, where we are and in Canada, if you ask them, "Will you take me to your toboggans?" they take you to the snow sleds. So that's just different dialect in different parts of the country.
Another popular headwear is this Stormy Cromer type hat. We see it all around town. We also see it on some videos when we watch folks that are out in the super snowy weather. I love this. This one is just for girls. As you can see, the flower. And then we have another style. Are they wool or something? Or?
They're wool, yeah.
And they're double lined in here, so they're just awesome.
That was, you saw, when we lived in Idaho, you saw, you know, if you go out, you'd see a dozen people with those on because they're really warm. They pull down over your ears a little bit. And so if you ever watch the TV show Mountain Men, some of the guys on that have those.
So another thing we wear is our balaclavas, I guess that's what it's called. And this one, we researched a lot about this because last year we didn't have it and we missed it. We knew we needed another layer across our face, and so we wanted to make sure we did a good thing. So this one actually is Filson, and you can wear it kind of several different ways. You can pull it down under your chin or up over your nose, and it is a fantastic layer. We were, once again, walking outside, and the snow and the wind, it just hurt your face, something terrible. So
Her more than me.
yeah, I was just wimpy. I'm like, take me home. But anyway, so we've got that in that variety, and we also have it kind of in a camo variety for when we're hunting. I think that's
Okay,
all
and
for
last but not least is our footwear.
that. Our gloves too.
Yeah, we got gloves too. Do you have yours?
Yeah, I got several
show 'em
pair.
yours.
So I've got these ones. These are for hunting. What they say is that a mitten is warmer than a glove where your fingers are separated. So this one is a little bit of both. So it's a glove when you need your fingers, and it's a mitten when you don't. So this is just a nice alternative to a glove. It's kind of a glove mitten. And then of course we have regular Carhartt type gloves that are thick and leather and super furry and wonderful. So that's all my stuff other than these.
Last but not least is our footwear. Now my feet get cold in the wintertime. I mean, my feet get cold sometimes in the summertime. So I have various types of footwear for various types of conditions. Normally in the wintertime, I will wear this boot. This is made by a company in Canada, Baffin. It has insulation in it. It's water resistant to a certain degree. And I hunted this year in this boot. And for the most part, my feet stayed warm with 2 pair of wool socks. Again, I was not moving at all. I was in a tree stand. And on a daily basis, when I'm working around the yard, in and out, this is what I put on. It's got good traction, very comfortable, a little bulky. You look like Herman Munster walking around with them, but I'm not worried about what I look like when my feet are cold, as long as they stay warm. The next...
Wait a minute, let me show you these.
Okay.
I'll show you these. So these are another type boot that we have. These are called dry shod. They're similar to, what are those other ones?
They're very similar to what most people use there is muck boots.
Muck boots. These are made by the guy who made or created muck boots, but it's his next line. They're called dry shod. And they're fantastic. They're insulated, kind of like with neoprene, and they have these little kick plates back here so you can kick them off easy. That's been a blessing. And they roll down for easy removal and putting on. It makes it easier. But these are some of my faves. I wear them all around town, in the rain, snow, mud. We do have a mud season here, so
Yeah.
they're fantastic for
Most
that.
places in the country and in the world have 4 seasons. The North Woods of Maine has 5. We have spring, summer, fall, winter, and mud season. And those boots are great because you can just hose them off, come inside. You can go out in the snow. They're great. The next boots we have, or I have, are these. I haven't had, these are newer boots and I haven't had a chance to really test them out. But these have 2,400 grams of insulation and a heat reflective panel inside. So any and all heat that you have will be retained in this. Yeah, it looks like something that they jumped off the lunar spacecraft with. But again, I'm not really worried about it as long as my toes stay warm.
So I should say, these are good to -20.
Mm-hmm.
These, I don't know, what are the...
These are supposed to be good to about -20, even if you're sitting still. And that's the reason I got them, is primarily to, enjoy being out in the snow with them. But more so, if I'm sitting still in a tree stand hunting, these should do the trick to keep my feet warm. And they are very bulky. They have a lot of insulation, and they're comfortable. I've worn them outside. I haven't worn them for an extended period of time. And next are my pack boots. These have a felt liner inside, and they look pretty rough, but I've had them for 30 years. They're made by White's Boot Company in Spokane, Washington. They used to make or still make smoke jumper boots, and when I worked for the Forest Service, that's who we got our smoke jumper boots from, is White's Boots, and they were custom made to fit us. They were pricey then, they're pricier now, but when you're on the backside of some mountain in Montana and you're on a fire and you've been on that fire for 2 weeks and your feet aren't blistered and hurting, you don't think about how much you paid for them. So anyway, these are Whites. These are leather uppers and rubber bottoms. They have a removable felt insole, but this is what I used last year when I was blowing snow and my feet stayed warm. They're waterproof up to about here. They're not near as waterproof at a higher level as the dry shods, but they really work. And like I say, a testament to their durability. I've had them for 30 years. One of the things that we tried to do is it's expensive buying this type of equipment.
Yeah.
So we try to save our money we're constantly looking for good deals and sales, but we try to buy the best equipment that we can, because I always tell people I'm too poor to buy cheap, because if you buy cheap, then you buy it over and over and over. So we try to save our money and look for good deals and get the best that we can afford, and that way it lasts a long time. For example, my vest, I've had it for 30 years. The boots, I've had them for 30 years. We take care of our stuff and hang it up, let it dry, maintain it like it should be. So it makes a big difference when you're planning to go outside and you look at the thermometer and it either says -25 or the outside sensor is just frozen up and it quits. You know it's cold. And last year, we weren't as prepared as we are this year, but we did have some good equipment and we made it through. So
one thing that's really unique that we had to get, because everybody needs a coat and everybody needs gloves and like that, but up here we wound up needing these crampons. They go around your boots. They fit all our boots, which is wonderful, and they actually dig into the ice. We have a good bit of ice, especially right now. Last year it was later in the season, but it's right now lots of ice, and so this helps us to actually have some kind of traction on the ice. So this is a godsend. We've never owned a pair of these before and never needed to, but so this is a new thing for us, definitely up here in Maine.
last year, going to the mailbox later in the winter,
It was treacherous.
as it would start to melt a little bit and refreeze, it was treacherous just going to the mailbox, because it's 240 feet from our door to the mailbox. And I'd go outside, sit down, put those on, and you walk with confidence knowing that you're not going to slip and fall with those things on. And that makes a big difference, because when you get my age, you don't heal as fast as you did when you
Can't
were
afford
20.
to
And
fall,
who wants
yeah.
to get a broken leg or a broken arm or hip? And so the few minutes that it takes for me to put those on, even going to the mailbox, you know, if you're walking on ice, there was ice in our driveway last year that was 4 and 5 inches thick, and that was after I scraped the snow off with a tractor. And you know, it's just a necessity that last winter we bought a birdhouse, and we put it about 150 feet from the back door out on a tree. And I would go out there and fill it up with seed as it needed. And it began to snow here. And it began to snow, and it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed some more. So, not having lived in a climate like this, one day I decided to go put some seed in the birdhouse. Well, remember, it's about 150 feet. So, I've always been fairly decent at math, but evidently as my years get on me, my judgment isn't that clear. So my inseam is 30 inches. The snow was 40. So as I was going to the birdhouse, it was fine for a few minutes. Then I fill up the bird feeder and I start to come back. Well, at that point, I have sunk so low in the snow that it's up to here. And it's like quicksand. And the more you try to lift your leg up, the deeper you go. And believe it or not, I didn't have a coat on, didn't have gloves, because I was just going to the birdhouse. So I ended up thinking, well, I've got to equally distribute my weight. So I put the bird seat on my back, laid down in the snow with no gloves on, no jacket, and I crawled 150 feet in the snow back to the house. And this year, I have a remedy for that. I always thought snowshoes was just a novelty that people used because they wanted to look cute. No. So this year, I'm prepared for it. I have a brand new pair of LL Bean snowshoes, and when the snow gets deep enough, I will use them. These have a little traction grips for going uphill, but you know, it's just amazing what you know and what you think you know and what you don't know. I remember last year I was blowing snow and I walked up to the end of the driveway and a guy came down the road on a snowmobile, and I just turned my snowblower off and stared at him, and I know he thought, well, what's that idiot looking at? I had seen snowmobiles in Idaho in people's yard, but we got so little snow that they'd have to put them on a trailer and drive 100 miles up the road to get into snow to use them. I'd seen them on television, I'd seen them in yards, and I'd seen them in dealerships. But that's the first person that I had ever seen actually riding a snowmobile. So I just stopped and watched him. And it was really neat. But yeah, now we agree with Ray, the guy from North Dakota, that you really don't know what you need to survive until you get in a climate and a situation like we have. But we love it. We're not complaining about it. It just took some getting used to. And, you know, one of the things we plan to do this year is go ice fishing.
Yes.
So that's going to be a new adventure for us. And
we'll be using our crampons for sure.
We'll be using our crampons for sure.
All of this, probably.
We don't want to let the weather stop us from anything. It's like in Alaska, a raincoat is called an Alaskan tuxedo, and everybody had one. And the first thing they tell you in Alaska is if you wait until there's not rain or not a chance of rain to do something, you'll never get it done. So you just go on and do it. And we found up here that it's wonderful, hadn't we?
Yeah.
That you know, when winter comes, people don't hoard themselves up inside. You see snowmobiles going on the snowmobile trail. You see ATVs. You see the snow bullies that groom the snow trails. There's actually over 4,000 miles of snow trails in the state of Maine. So there's people that take a snowmobile and a sled behind it, and they go on a week-long vacation, popping out of town to town, because you can go over the whole state of Maine, you can go to New Hampshire, you can go to Vermont,
Canada?
You can go to Canada, and I've never been on a Canadian snowmobile trail, but they say that they are really, really nice. So you can go to Canada for lunch on a snowmobile. So it's really, really neat to see how people adapt themselves to snow and cold weather. So rather than stay inside, we just saved our money, bundled up, and go on. I do look like the Michelin Man oftentimes when I go out the door and it's 20 below zero. But, you know, I'm here, we're in a snow climate, we're in a cold climate. We don't regret being here, so it's something that we've just buckled down and decided that we're going to enjoy it as long as we can.
Yeah. So anyway, so this has been our video about all our gear and what we wear and what we learned that we needed, because we certainly didn't come with all of this equipment. So anyway, so you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. All right, Tim and I have decided to get us a fire going in the front yard. Yep, we got a new fire pit. It's a little tricky.
The first fire built in our new fire pit. The local Rotary Club had an auction for charity, and we bid on this and won it.
It says smart water And the AHA water brand is also on it. This
Yeah,
was donated by Pepsi?
Coca-Cola.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
So we thought it'd be nice to have some coffee and a fire out today because the high today is 30 degrees. So we're ready.
Yeah, it's relatively warm. The sun's out. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I bought a new fire starter not too long ago. This should be interesting. See how it does.
Oh, it's a beast. And that does it.
It sure does. No more getting down on your knees and blowing on the fire.
Yeah.
It's wicked.
It is
All
wicked.
right, so we're gonna go get our coffee and our chairs, and we'll be right back. I guess it'll
Well,
blow around.
If we moved,
It'd go
the
down.
smoke would follow us. So, you know, whatever.
That is neat. It looks sturdy.
You didn't earlier? I imagine that's why you didn't hear from him.
No, I mean, oh, your picture's right in the flame. Dude, that's horrible. You eat that?
Sure I do.
Oh, I like mine toasty. You might want to give that a minute. I'll show you how to do it. You gonna eat it? Or you still waiting?
I'm gonna wait a minute or a few minutes.
Here, hold this while I do mine.
Wait a minute. Now.
Okay. So you just get it warm. You see? Oh,
Really?
shoot! That's not how you're supposed to do it. I might gonna need practice. I don't want it to catch on fire again. I just want it to be kind of toasty. It's a long process. Did you eat yours already?
Mm-hmm.
I hear you crunching it. Marshmallows aren't supposed to be crunchy. It's kind of hot on your hand too. Your method's better probably because you're not hurting your hand.
No, I'm not hurting my hand.
It's getting hot. All right, here we go. We're gonna toast it on up. Should be toasting now. It's probably gonna catch on fire again. Oh, that's cool how the fire comes out of the log right there and then goes back in.
Mm-hmm.
You see it?
Yeah.
Right near my marshmallow. Yeah, I don't know if my marshmallow's ever gonna get cooked. I can't stand to get that close. My hand gets cooked before my marshmallow. Maybe I just like them this white shade. I wouldn't like mine having it toasty.
Don't turn it so fast and
You think?
it'll tan.
Oh, it's getting there. You're right. Oh, it's about to fall off. Okay. Oh, don't fall. Get back on there. All right. It's probably gonna be terrific. It does have some of that crusty on it though. Ooh.
That'll be good.
No. Okay, here we go. I'm good. I'll try another one.